Every civilization in history believed in gods. Science calls that mythology. But what if mythology was just the only language ancient humans had to describe what they actually saw? Language, culture, politics, history. Yet somehow, they kept telling the same story. A story about beings descending from the sky. Teachers, creators, rulers. Figures possessing knowledge ordinary humans could barely comprehend. The Greeks called them Olympians. The Egyptians called them gods. The Sumerians spoke of beings who came from above. The Norse imagined divine visitors crossing the heavens. The names changed, the clothing changed, the symbols changed, but the pattern remained, again and again and again. Civilizations separated by oceans, by deserts, by entire worlds of distance, yet all describing powerful beings arriving from the sky, changing human civilization, then disappearing. The most isolated civilizations in human history, separated by oceans and centuries, were apparently all making up the same dream. Coincidences happen, but patterns demand explanation, and this pattern may be the oldest one humanity has ever recorded. Because when every civilization on Earth tells the same story, the question stops being whether it happened. The question becomes, what actually did? The pattern becomes stranger when you stop looking at mythology and start looking at testimony. The Sumerians were the first civilization to leave written records. The first. And in those records, they described beings called the Anunnaki, visitors from above. According to the stories, they arrived bringing knowledge humanity did not possess. Agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, law. Before them, scattered settlements. After them, one of the most sophisticated civilizations on Earth. Then Egypt, thousands of years later. A different culture, a different language, a different world. Yet the story remained. The gods did not live far away in some unreachable heaven. They walked among humans, taught architecture, taught medicine, guided kings. Then one day, they withdrew. Then came Greece. The Olympians were not distant creators. They intervened constantly, teaching, punishing, rewarding, shaping the course of human history as though humanity itself was a project still under construction. And then, across an ocean none of these civilizations had ever crossed, the Aztecs told a story that should not exist. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, a being who descended from above, brought knowledge, built civilization, then departed with a promise. One day, he would return. Different continents, different centuries, different people, yet the details refused to change. Beings from above, knowledge beyond ordinary humans, direct intervention, then departure. Not once, not twice, but over and over again, as though humanity kept remembering the same event through different languages, or perhaps describing the same visitors. These were not primitive people making up stories to explain thunder. These were civilizations recording what they believed they witnessed, and they all witnessed the same thing. If the stories ended with gods descending from the sky, they would be easy to dismiss. But there is another pattern, a far stranger one. Knowledge. Again and again, ancient civilizations seem to possess pieces of understanding that feel out of place. The Egyptians raised monuments so massive and precise that they still inspire debate thousands of years later. The Sumerians mapped the heavens with astonishing detail. Not just stories, observations, records, calculations. Then there are the Nazca lines, gigantic patterns carved into the Peruvian desert,
so large they only reveal their full shape from high above the ground. A civilization with no aircraft, creating images seemingly designed for the sky. And then, from the depths of a Greek shipwreck, came something that should not have existed. The Antikythera mechanism, a machine of gears and calculations capable of predicting astronomical events with remarkable precision. A computer, 2,000 years before computers. Even ancient Indian texts speak of vimanas, flying vehicles described in ways that continue to fascinate historians, engineers, and dreamers alike. Individually, each example can be explained. A coincidence, a lost technique, a misunderstanding. But the pattern refuses to stay isolated, because every time we look deeper, we find another civilization reaching far beyond what we expect. Astronomy, engineering, mathematics, architecture, knowledge appearing again and again at the foundations of human civilization. Perhaps ancient humans were simply far more capable than we give them credit for. Or perhaps they were learning from somewhere. The question was never whether ancient humans were intelligent. The question is who taught them things they should not have known.
The strangest part of the story is not that the gods came, it is that they left. Across thousands of years of mythology, across continents that never knew each other existed, one detail refuses to disappear. The age of the gods ended. The stories are different, but the ending remains the same, again and again and again. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl departed across the horizon with a promise. One day, he would return. In the Norse world, the gods withdrew into myth, waiting for Ragnarok, the final reckoning, the final return. Hindu cosmology tells a similar story, a cycle, an age when the divine feels close, then an age when it grows distant, then eventually, its return. Even the ancient stories of the Anunnaki end the same way. Departure, withdrawal, absence. It is a pattern hidden inside another pattern. Humanity remembers the visitors, but it also remembers losing them. And that raises a question mythology never answers. Why leave? Why would beings powerful enough to be worshipped as gods simply walk away? They were not defeated. They were not forgotten. According to the stories, they chose to go. What would make a civilization teacher stop teaching? What would make a creator step away from its creation? And perhaps most unsettling of all, why did so many cultures believe they would one day return? Every culture that ever worshipped a god also told the story of the day the gods stopped coming. That is not a coincidence. That is a goodbye. For most of human history, we have looked at the night sky and asked the same question. Are we alone? It is the question that built observatories, the question that launched rockets, the question that still echoes through space today. We point telescopes toward distant stars. We send signals into the darkness. We listen. And we wait. NASA searches for life beyond Earth. SETI scans the heavens for a reply. The James Webb Space Telescope peers deeper into the universe than humanity has ever seen before. Every year, our eyes reach farther. Every year, our questions grow louder. And something else is changing. For thousands of years, intelligence belonged only to living minds. Now, we are creating machines that can learn, reason, create, tools that would appear miraculous to anyone living just a few centuries ago. Technology so advanced that, to the ancient world, it would have looked divine. Which raises an uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps ancient civilizations did not worship gods because they were primitive.
Perhaps they worshipped gods because they encountered something extraordinary, something beyond their understanding. And if that is true, then humanity has entered a strange new chapter. Because now, we are the advanced civilization. Now we are the ones reaching into the unknown. Now we are the ones sending signals into the sky, looking upward, waiting for an answer, just as our ancestors once did. And every ancient story about what happens when contact is made again ends the same way. We spent thousands of years wondering if we were alone. We may have forgotten that we already had the answer and lost it. For thousands of years, humanity has asked the same question. Are we alone? The civilizations changed, the languages changed, the names changed, but the pattern never did. Something came, something taught, something left. And no matter where humans lived, they remembered. Maybe the gods were real, maybe they weren't. Maybe the truth is stranger than either answer. What matters is that every civilization looked up. Every civilization believed something answered, and every civilization mourned when it was gone. We like to imagine those stories belong to the distant past, ancient temples, forgotten myths, dead civilizations. But look around. We are still searching, still listening, still sending signals into the dark. The pattern didn't end. We're still living inside it. Maybe the gods were never supernatural. Maybe they were simply further ahead. And maybe the most unsettling thought of all is this: if they came before, they know we're looking. They've always known. The question isn't whether they're out there. The question is whether they're already on their way back. If you got to this part of the video, show support by engaging. Just a simple like and comment would go a long way for us. Thank you.